Okay. 18 years later, starting in France, we're going to find that there will be 4 more revolutions that take place. And again, we will see some being, or 1 being successful and 3 failing. But we're starting to see a pattern, okay? And we're going to continue to see this pattern until eventually there are all successful revolutions. Really, a lot of these revolutions are based on Enlightenment ideals, or the desire to have Enlightenment ideals. And in France, in 1946, 2 years before the revolution, they were having a very difficult economic period, and the French lower classes were struggling mightily. At this point, we have Louis Philippe in power, who had taken over in 1830 for Charles X. And Louis Philippe, the middle class, the lower class are demanding money, and the middle class are demanding the right to vote. And Louis Philippe is refusing to do either. Okay, he had already allowed certain Enlightenment ideas in his government, but he was not going to go this far. He allowed freedom of speech in the press. But universal male suffrage, the right for all men to vote, was 1 step too far for him. The workers refused to accept that, and they rebelled in a bloody riot, which the workers lost. Okay, but what's going to happen is that a new government is going to be set up in 1848. And one of the things this government does is it creates national workshops, which are government jobs. Okay, this is Utopian Socialism coming out at this point. Okay, they say, if you're poor, come to the city and we'll give you a job in one of our workshops, in one of our factories. But what happens is that there are so many poor people, and the numbers start to double and triple, and everyone's showing up to get one of these jobs, that the government goes broke. They don't have enough money to give jobs to all the poor people. And the poor people riot, and there are thousands of deaths in the street, and blood and destruction. And at the end of the day, the reason why there are these riots are because the government tries to shut down these workshops. They say, we're sorry, we don't have the money to continue these workshops. We're going to have to close them. And then the workers riot, and there's mass chaos in the streets. And then we're going to find that a new person steps in to quell the violence, to quell the revolution, to try and bring peace back to France, which by the way had allowed for universal male suffrage. So not only did they have these socialist ideas of government workshops, but also they allowed all men to vote. This was a very liberal, maybe too liberal of a government, at least for 1848. So in walks Louis Napoleon, the cousin of Napoleon Bonaparte, and he goes, I got this. Okay, and he does, and he's able to unite the factions, the business owners who don't want socialism, who don't want government jobs, support Louis Napoleon. The people support Louis Napoleon because he is a Bonaparte, and he promises to continue to allow universal male suffrage. He's going to continue to allow all men to vote. So in France, we're seeing this slow, step-by-step increase in Enlightenment ideas, from freedoms of the press to the right to vote, and of course the failed attempt at socialism, really, with these government workshops. And in 1848, we have a new Bonaparte, right? A new Napoleon in charge of France, but everyone gets to vote, and there's freedom of speech, and Enlightenment ideals are progressing in France. They are able to end the government of Louis Philippe and start a new government. Success. Next is Germany. And as you can see on this map, Prussia was the big, powerful country in Germany. They were the group that met in the Congress of Vienna. They're one of the big 5 powers in Europe at this point. But over here, maybe equal in size, are these German states. They're individual German princely states, but they're feeling really German, and they're feeling really nationalistic. And also they believe in a lot of Enlightenment ideas. They want things like freedom of the press and trial by jury and some of these Enlightenment ideas. They see the United States succeeding over there. They see France giving some of these ideals over here. England, of course, already had a constitutional monarchy up there. And the Germans are saying, we're next. So in 1848, the German people get together and they actually set up a Congress in Frankfurt, Germany. And then all the German princely states are represented. And they vote to become united, but to give Prussia the kingship. And they want to have a constitutional monarchy. There's a king with a constitution and also a legislative body. That would be them, right? So now they've voted for this and they agree and they go to Prussia. They say, hey, Prussia, would you guys like to be the leaders of this new Germany we're going to create? You'll be the king. We'll have a constitution and we'll be the legislature. And Prussia says no. The leader of Prussia says, that's just, I don't want to ruin the balance of power between the 5 countries. So no, I'm not interested in it. But the seed has been planted and there will be a Germany that comes out of this area. In Central Europe, or they call it Central Europe, we're going to look at a country called Austria. Austria, of course, is where Metternich came from, the leader of the Congress of Vienna. This is the old remnants of the old Holy Roman Empire, had fallen back into Austria. You can see it in this map here. And Austria had created its own little empire when it lost the German states, when it stopped being the Holy Roman Empire after the 30 Years' War. But Austria came down and they had taken land over here in what's modern-day Hungary. They had taken land in modern-day Croatia, little area of what we call Serbia, Slovakia, Slovenia. They had created their own empire. But the thing is that these people were not culturally homogenous. They were not of the same culture. They spoke different languages. They had different histories. They were even different religions in some areas. So this area, although an empire, was never really united. It never really felt united. But the Germans, or the Austrians, who were just Catholic Germans, okay? The Austrians had all the power. They spoke German. They were culturally German, but they were Catholic, so they were separate from the northern Prussians and German princely states. These are the old Habsburgs, okay? This is Marie Antoinette's family. This is Joseph II, right? And we're going to see that in the Czech Republic, which is like where the city of Prague is, they tried to rebel. And each time that there would be these little mini rebellions, the government would give the people a little more rights, a little more rights. In Hungary, they also start clamoring for rights too. They say, hey, I saw you gave the Czechs some rights. I'd like to get some rights too. Okay, we're very different, by the way. The Hungarians are Magyars. Their language and culture is very different than the Germans, and even the Czechs. The Czechs were really similar to the Germans, historically speaking. But when the Hungarians ask for rights, this time Austria is going to go to big Russia, okay, over here. And they're going to say, Russia, we need help. We were cool with giving the Czechs rights, but we don't want to give the Hungarians equal rights either. So the Russians come in and they crush the attempt to get rights from these people. They not only crush the Hungarians, they crush the Czechs, and they give all the power back to the Austrians. But again, we're seeing in Austria that this isn't stable. The last country of the 4 who had rebellions or attempted rebellions in 1848 is Italy. And Italy was a mess, all right? When we look at this map here, we can see that there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 independent countries in modern Italy. But look, they all spoke Italian. They were all Catholic. They felt connected by the old Roman Empire. And even though the North was rich and the South was poor, they still felt like Italians, okay? And they did not like the fact that, you know, in this area here where Venice is, we call Lombardy, this was ruled by the Austrians. The Austrians ruled Down here in Tuscany, the Papal States were ruled over by similar people as up here. Look, I think France may have ruled the Papal States. Italy was divided, and there were many different countries that had, if they didn't rule, they had influence over these 9 separate states. In 1848, the northern states, the rich states, the what is Lombard, Lombardy, Venetia, and Piedmont. This is Piedmont. Will rebel against the Austrian government, who was in control of this northern areas, but they fail. Okay, Austria is too powerful. They get smacked down. But again, we're seeing a desire for independence in Italy, similar to what we're seeing in Austria amongst its countries. And we're going to find that that desire is not going to change, and that in Italy, they're going to keep pushing for independence from Austria, from outside influence, for unity. In Germany, they're going to keep pushing to become united. And in Austria, Hungary is going to keep pushing for its independence from Austria. And we're going to see that in 1871, that all of these forces for change are going to try again, and this time it's going to work.